Most people quit too early. They pray for success, but they cannot wait for the process. They plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. The moment life becomes slow, difficult, or painful, they think nothing is working. They compare themselves with others, lose hope, and give up before their time comes. But life has a strange rule. The people who stay patient during hard times are often the ones who win in the end. My name is Ayaan, and this story is about a donkey who taught an entire village the true power of patience. In a small dry village there lived a poor farmer named Zack. He was not rich, strong, or famous. He only had a tiny house, a few farming tools, and one old donkey named Speed. Speed was not fast like a horse. He was not beautiful either. His body was weak, his fur looked dusty, and people laughed whenever they saw him walking slowly through the village roads. The villagers often mocked Zack. "Why do you still keep this useless donkey? He is too old. He works too slowly. You should sell him." But Zack always smiled and replied, "Slow does not mean useless." Every morning before sunrise, Zack loaded small sacks of vegetables on Speed's back and walked to the market miles away. The journey was difficult. The roads were rocky, the weather was hot, and sometimes people with horses reached the market much earlier. Zack earned very little money. Sometimes he returned home with unsold vegetables. Sometimes there was barely enough food for dinner. One evening, after another terrible day at the market, Zack sat quietly outside his house. His eyes were full of disappointment. "I work every day," he whispered, "but nothing changes." As he spoke, Speed slowly walked toward him and gently rested his head on Zack's shoulder. Zack smiled sadly. "At least you understand me." The next morning, Zack decided to try something different. Instead of rushing to the market like others, he chose a longer mountain path. People thought he was crazy because the road was difficult and dangerous. "Your donkey is already slow," the villagers laughed. "Now you chose an even longer road?" But Zack ignored them. As they walked through the mountains, Zack noticed something strange. Along the road, there were wild fruit trees growing everywhere. Travelers passing through the mountains were always thirsty and hungry, but nobody sold anything there because everyone preferred the faster main road. Zack stopped and thought carefully. The next day, he carried water and fruits along with vegetables. While crossing the mountain road, tired travelers happily bought food from him. For the first time in months, Zack returned home with extra money. Weeks passed. Slowly, more travelers began waiting for Zack on the mountain road. They trusted him because he was kind, patient, and always arrived at the same time every day. Meanwhile, the farmers using the main road faced heavy competition. Prices became lower, fights became common, and many returned home angry. But Zack kept following the slow mountain path with speed, day after day, month after month. One afternoon, a rich merchant traveling through the mountains noticed Zack helping an injured traveler for free. The merchant watched quietly as Speed stood patiently beside them, carrying heavy supplies without making noise. The merchant was impressed. "You are different from others," he told Zack. Zack smiled. "Life taught me patience." The merchant then made an offer. "I need someone honest to transport goods through these mountains every week. Most people refuse because the road is difficult. Will you do it?" Zack immediately agreed. That small opportunity changed his life completely. Over the next few years, Zack slowly earned enough money to buy more land, repair his house, and live peacefully. But he never forgot speed. Even when people respected him now, Zack still walked beside his donkey every morning. One day a young boy asked him, "How did you become successful?" Zack looked at Speed and smiled. "Because of him." The boy looked confused. "But he's just a donkey." Zack replied, "No, he is the reason I learned patience." The boy sat beside him curiously. Zack continued, "Everyone wanted speed. Everyone wanted quick success. They laughed at slow progress. But this donkey taught me something powerful. Slow steps still move forward. Patience still reaches the destination." Years later, a terrible storm hit the village. Heavy rain destroyed the main road completely. Trade stopped. Farmers who depended on the fast road lost everything overnight. But the mountain path Zack used for years remained safe because it was built on stronger ground. Now the entire village depended on Zack's route for food and supplies. The same villagers who once laughed at Speed now stood silently watching him walk through the mountains, carrying supplies for everyone. One old villager lowered his head and said, "We judged him because he was slow." Zack replied calmly, "The world often laughs at patience because it cannot see the future." That night, Zack sat beside Speed under the stars. Speed had grown very old now. His steps were weaker than before. Zack gently touched his head. "You carried more than vegetables," he whispered. "You carried my dreams when nobody believed in me." A few days later, Speed died peacefully near the same mountain road they had traveled for years. Zack buried him under a large tree overlooking the valley. People from the village came to visit because by then everyone knew the story of the patient donkey. Near the grave, Zack placed a small wooden sign. It said, "Fast people may arrive early, but patient people arrive stronger." And that is the lesson of this story. Patience does not mean doing nothing. Patience means continuing to move even when results are invisible. Most people destroy their future because they cannot survive temporary discomfort. They quit too soon. They change direction too quickly. They panic when life becomes slow. But success is not always about talent or speed. Sometimes success belongs to the person who simply refuses to stop. A tree takes years before giving fruit. A river cuts through rock not because of power, but because of consistency. And just like Speed the donkey, sometimes the slowest journey creates the strongest life. If life feels slow right now, do not lose hope. Your patience may be building something bigger than you can currently see.